They say history is written by the victors, but what if the truth was buried with the fallen? Every secret leaves a trace, if you know where to look. This is The Broken Truth, decoding history, one broadcast at a time. The Broken Truth Podcast, where history meets conspiracy. Every case tells a story, every story hides a lie. Well, I've sat here for about 20 minutes, contemplating whether or not I want to cover this topic. We have recently covered Zorro Ranch and Jeffrey Epstein. And a while back, I came across this topic. And I don't think it's gotten enough light shed on it. So, Lord, give me the strength to cover this topic and shed more light on it, because it's necessary. I want to preface this whole video by saying I have no stance on this topic. I think it's very disturbing. I think that there's evidence on both sides for either side of the coin to be true. But I think it's important for you guys to hear this information and draw some conclusions for yourself. All right, let's get into it. So in the world of Silicon Valley, there are programmers and then there are architects. Suchir was an architect, a child prodigy and 2016 National Computing Olympiad champion. Suchir graduated from UC Berkeley with a 4.0 GPA. While still a student, he developed the passenger screening algorithm used by the TSA today, a $100,000 achievement that foreshadowed his role in global infrastructure. When OpenAI launched ChatGPT, Suchir was at the center of the storm. As a lead researcher on WebGPT, he was responsible for the pre-training data, the very fuel that allows AI to think. But by late 2023, the fuel began to smell like a fire. As OpenAI transitioned from a nonprofit to a profit-making titan, Suchir's conscience kicked in. He saw the harvesting of the internet not as progress, but as a massive copyright violation, a theft of human creativity. To understand the end, we have to look at the final 90 days of Suchir's life. In August 2024, the third week, Suchir leaves OpenAI. A day after he leaves, he gives a 40-minute interview to Canadian media currently suing OpenAI. October 23rd of 2024, the New York Times quotes Suchir. He goes on the record, OpenAI is stealing material. November 18th, 2024, the stakes turn deadly. The New York Times names Suchir as a custodian witness. He is now the man holding the sealed documents. November 21st of 2024, Suchir celebrates his 26th birthday. He's just getting back from Catalina Island on a camping trip with his friends. He's upbeat. He's planning a medical AI startup. He receives a cash gift from his father. He has a phone call with his father that day where he talks about going to Las Vegas for CES in January of 2025. They talk about the weather in San Francisco being very rainy and gloomy, and then in January in Las Vegas, the weather should be great. And then we have the final day, November 22nd of 2024. At 11 a.m., he texts his mom. His flight is taking off from LA. He's coming back from Catalina Island back to San Francisco where he lives. At 2 p.m., he's seen by his leasing manager in San Francisco. He's carrying luggage back from a trip to Catalina Island. At 7:15 p.m., he has his last call with his father. And like I said, they talk about a trip to Las Vegas in January to go to CES. At 10:10 p.m., his last digital footprint. He's researching neuroscience topics on his desktop. As we know, he's trying to develop a new tech startup revolving around this topic. And here's the gap. Sometime after 10:10 p.m., the custodian witness is silenced. On November 26th, Suchir was found. The San Francisco medical examiner spent just 40 minutes at the scene before ruling it a suicide. But the family's independent investigation by Dr. Joseph Gohan tells a different story. Here's the evidence the authorities ignored. First, we have the bullet angle. The official story says Suchir shot himself. The autopsy shows the bullet traveled 30 to 45 degrees downward, missing the brain entirely, an angle forensic experts call an atypical suicide. Second, the signs of struggle. There was a separate head injury on the left side. Blood was found spattered in the bathroom and on the sink, despite the body being found in another room. Third, we have the bloody wig. Behind a door sat a piece of a clip-in wig soaked in blood. Forensic tests in 2025 confirmed the hair in that wig was not Suchir's. Next, we have the security breach. Surveillance wires were cut. 2 entrances had no camera coverage. Even the funeral home pulled his parents aside, whispering that the body's condition did not look normal. Then moving on, we have a confrontation. In 2025, the pressure now reached Sam Altman, the founder of OpenAI. In a sit-down with Tucker Carlson, the CEO of OpenAI was forced to address the death of his former lead researcher. I'm going to list these quotes directly from the interview. Tucker Carlson says, "You had complaints from one programmer who said, 'You guys are basically stealing people's stuff and not paying them.' And he wound up murdered. What was that?" Sam Altman goes on to say, "Also a great tragedy. He committed suicide." Tucker Carlson says, "Do you think he committed suicide?" Sam Altman said, "I really do." Tucker asks him, "Have you looked into it?" Altman's reply is, "This was, like, a friend of mine. I read the whole medical record. Does it not look like one to you?" Tucker says, "No, he was definitely murdered. I think there were signs of a struggle. Of course. The surveillance camera, the wires had been cut. He had just ordered takeout food. No note and no behavior. He's found dead with blood in multiple rooms. So that's impossible. Have you talked to the authorities about it?" Sam Altman says, "I have not talked to the authorities about it." Tucker says, "And his mother claims he was murdered on your orders. Do you believe that?" Sam Altman says, "Well, I'm asking. I mean, you just said it." You understand how this sounds like an accusation. Tucker says, "Of course. I don't understand why the city of San Francisco has refused to investigate it beyond just calling it a suicide. Why would the security camera wires be cut? And how did he wind up bleeding in 2 rooms after shooting himself? And why was there a wig in the room that wasn't his?" Sam Altman says, "This is where it gets into, I think, a little bit painful. People commit suicide without notes. A lot like that happens. People definitely order food they like before they commit suicide. This is an incredible tragedy." By late 2025, the Suchir Balaji case has become the rallying cry for a federal investigation into the Silicon Mafia. The family is now petitioning the DOJ and FBI, alleging that local San Francisco authorities are suppressed by tech lobbying. We are left with the question, is the tool of AI the threat or the people behind it? If the tool is built on theft and the people behind it are protected by a system that ignores bloody wigs and cut wires, then the threat isn't coming from the code. It's coming from the humans who will do anything to keep the machine running. Suchir Balaji was a custodian witness. He held the documents. He had the truth. And in the race for AI supremacy, truth has become the most expensive commodity of all. As we close the file on the life and death of Suchir Balaji, we are left with more than just a cold case. We are left with a mirror held up to the future of our civilization. Suchir wasn't just another Silicon Valley engineer. He was a prodigy who helped build the very tools we use every day. He was a man who graduated with a 4.0, who won awards for protecting our skies, and who, in his final months, was prepared to risk everything to protect our digital ethics. He didn't die as a man who had lost his way. He died as a man who had finally found his voice. The official record in San Francisco says this was a suicide, but the record of the room tells a different story. At about 12:10 p.m. the night of his murder, his mother tries to call him. The phone rings once and goes to voicemail. The phone was on. Can you tell me how a man who died that night was able to deny a call if he committed suicide? It's the story of blood in multiple rooms that instant death cannot explain. It's the story of a bloody wig that didn't belong to the victim. It's the story of a 30-degree downward angle that defies the physics of self-infliction. When the authorities spend only 40 minutes at a scene involving a high-profile whistleblower, they aren't just closing a case, they're closing their eyes. So let's walk through the official timeline of all of the events to give you some greater context and allow you to draw your own parallels and conclusions on this tragic event. So once again, he was a child prodigy and a national champion, computing Olympiad winner in 2016. He earned his bachelor's and master's degrees in computer science from UC Berkeley with a 4.0 GPA. While at Berkeley, he won a $100,000 reward for a passenger screening algorithm currently used by the TSA. His role at OpenAI: he joined OpenAI as an AI researcher right after graduation. He was lead on WebGPT, which became ChatGPT. He worked directly on pre-training data, feeding internet data to the model, and later on tuning and optimizing the ChatGPT application itself. So the conflict: he became concerned about ethical violations when ChatGPT turned profit-making. He believed OpenAI was violating copyright laws by using owned material to fuel the model. Then we move on to the whistleblowing activity. Suchir left OpenAI in the third week of August 2024. The day after leaving, he gave a 40-minute interview to a Canadian news media outlet suing OpenAI. On October 23, 2024, he was quoted in the New York Times stating that OpenAI violates copyright law and steals material. On November 18th of 2024, the New York Times named him as a custodian witness. He possessed sealed documents that his mother claimed implicated OpenAI in crimes. He had an interview scheduled with the Associated Press for December 2nd of 2024 regarding taking legal action against OpenAI. The death and the official ruling. Suchir died on November 22nd, 2024, the night he returned from a backpacking trip. His body was discovered in his San Francisco apartment on November 26th of 2024. The official cause of death. The medical examiner ruled it a suicide within approximately 40 minutes of arriving at the scene. The official explanation was a single gunshot to the head that entered the brainstem, causing immediate death. So the evidence disputing suicide, according to family and independent investigation. The scene investigation itself. The family claims authorities conducted an incomplete 40-minute investigation and ignored critical evidence. The body was released within 24 hours without a complete initial autopsy, only a CT scan and bullet removal. The blood evidence. Photographs taken by the mother show blood spattered throughout the apartment, including the bathroom door and floor, contradicting the official theory of immediate death from a single shot. The wig. A piece of a clip-in wig covered in blood was found behind a door. Suchir had short hair and did not wear wigs. Forensic analysis showed the hair in the wig did not match Suchir's hair. Authorities did not collect this evidence. The independent autopsy findings. The family commissioned a second autopsy by Dr. Joseph Gohan. The bullet angle. The bullet traveled downward at a 30 to 45 degree angle and missed the brain entirely. The pathologist described this angle as atypical and abnormal for suicide. Other injuries. There was evidence of a separate head injury on the left side and signs of a struggle in the bathroom. Disarrayed items, blood in the sink. His mental state. Friends who were on the camping trip ending that day described him as upbeat. He had celebrated his 26th birthday the day prior, had concrete career plans, a startup business, and had just received a cash gift from his father hours before his death. The post-death actions. The funeral home initially advised the parents that the body's condition did not look normal and suggested a private autopsy. The family believes there's a cover-up involving the San Francisco Medical Examiner's Office and local authorities due to the influence of tech lobbying and a mafia, or quote-unquote mafia, atmosphere around big AI companies. The family is seeking a federal investigation by the FBI and DOJ. Here's the timeline of events in order, based on the provided transcript. So in 2016, he wins his award. He takes a gap year at age 17 and works at Quora after he graduates prior to starting college. Suchir wins his $100,000 award for the algorithm while at UC Berkeley between 2017 and 2018. November 21st of 2023, Sam Altman is reinstated at OpenAI. Around this time, Suchir begins seriously questioning the ethics of using copyrighted data. July 2024, Suchir discusses launching a startup with a Berkeley colleague. In August 2024, Suchir leaves OpenAI. The day after leaving, Suchir has a 40-minute interview, again with the Canadian media regarding OpenAI. Suchir is quoted in the New York Times accusing OpenAI of stealing copyrighted material. November 16th to 22nd of 2024, Suchir goes backpacking on Catalina Island with 5 friends. November 18th of 2024, the New York Times names Suchir a custodian witness possessing documents against OpenAI. November 21st of 2024, Suchir celebrates his 26th birthday. Here's the 22nd, the day of his death. At approximately 11 a.m., Suchir texts his mother that his flight from LA is taking off. Around 1 to 2 p.m., Suchir arrives at his San Francisco apartment complex. He's seen by the leasing manager. 4:54 p.m., Suchir texts his mother about the rain in San Francisco. 7:15 p.m., Suchir has his last conversation with his father, discusses a future trip to Las Vegas, and receives a birthday gift. He's described as happy during this phone call. At approximately 10 p.m., the evidence suggests that Suchir was brushing his teeth. Blood and items were found in the bathroom sink. 10:10 p.m. was the last recorded browser history on his desktop. He was researching neuroscience topics, most likely for his startup. Here's the discovery in the aftermath. November 23rd of 2024, at around 12:15 p.m., the mother calls Suchir. The phone rings once and goes to voicemail. November 25th of 2024, the parents visit the apartment, knock, and receive no answer. Police conduct a welfare check but do not enter. The mother files a missing person complaint. November 26th of 2024 is the discovery. At 1:09 p.m., the police arrive at the apartment with the leasing manager. At 1:13 p.m., police spot the body, according to the police report. They initially tell the mother they did not enter due to protocol. At 2 p.m., additional officers arrive and enter for 20 minutes. They tell the mother to leave and wait 5 to 6 hours. She refuses. At 3:20 p.m., the medical examiner's van arrives. At 4 p.m., the medical examiner informs the mother it was a suicide. The on-scene investigation concludes in roughly 40 minutes. The parents are then given the keys to the apartment. On November 27th of 2024, the body is released to the family without a full autopsy performed by the authorities. December 2nd of 2024, the date Suchir had planned an interview with the Associated Press regarding legal action against OpenAI. December 13th of 2024, OpenAI HR contacts the parents for the first time, requesting an urgent Zoom call regarding stock options. Post January 1st, 2025, a neighbor notes that packages delivered to Suchir between his death and December 31st have gone missing from the shared mailroom. This is all the publicly released information that we have on this case. Very deeply disturbing. Leave your comments below in terms of what your conclusion is for this heinous, disappointing tragedy. We return to our central question. Is AI the threat or the people controlling it? If we look at Suchir's work, the tool is a marvel of human ingenuity. But if we look at Suchir's death, we see the people behind the tool, the power, the lobbying, and the silence that follows when a witness becomes a liability. AI doesn't cut security wires. AI doesn't ignore forensic evidence. AI doesn't choose to call a struggle a suicide. But people do. The documents Suchir held were meant to be a warning. In 2025, as we watch the industry he helped create grow more powerful by the day, we have to ask ourselves, if the architects of our future are being silenced today, what kind of house are we really building? Justice for Suchir is not just about a single family in San Francisco. It is about the right to speak the truth in the face of the machine. This has been the Broken Truth Podcast. I'm your host, Garrett, and thanks for listening.
In a world built on hidden histories and half-truths, we've only just begun to peel back the layers. Because what you've heard tonight was never meant to be known, but you were meant to find it. If you're ready to go deeper, leave us a review, comment your thoughts, share this episode, and step inside the archives. Join the inner circle, where the real evidence is kept. This is the broken truth, because the truth isn't whole, it's broken.